Hi, and welcome to our amazing live today. So good to see you here joining us, whether live or on replay. I'm excited today because we're talking about the power of women coming together to celebrate each other. And what a better conversation to have and to wrap up the Women's History Month than talking about why is it important for us as women to come together. And my lovely guest is Coach Lee Mariano today. Hi, Lee. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Raymonda? Good to see you. Good to see you today.
Good to see you. What a month this has been.
Oh, it's been nerve-wracking and a little scary, but also very exciting.
Yes. Oh my God. It's been so busy. I feel like this month flew by. We celebrated Women's History Month. We celebrated Women's International Day. For us at Women Thrive, we had this amazing summit. The magazine came out. There's just so much. It's like we've got a lot to talk about, Lee.
There is a lot, but it's all good stuff. It's all good stuff. That's the best part.
Oh, amazing. So, ladies, if you're joining us live, please let us know where you're joining us from. Just comment in the chat. Let me know where in the world you are. We're going to begin in just a moment. But if you haven't met Lee Mariano, I'm excited to introduce her to you because she has really taken my breath away as we met a few months ago and I got to know a little bit about her story and her mission. And she recently spoke at the Women Thrive Summit as our VIP speaker. And to be honest, when I was listening to her story and her mission, it really inspired me and brought it all together as to why we do what we do in terms of women empowerment. So, a little bit about Lee. So, Lee Mariano is author, speaker, business guru, and a CEO and founder of Alex Adam Coaching. Multifaceted coaching, specialty centered around helping clients increase their self confidence, reclaim their personal power, and rediscover their identity so they can successfully achieve their goals and attain the life that they desire. Lee has a lot of experience in business and coaching, so I'm excited to bring my guest here today. Lee, what have I missed in your bio? Because you're a woman of like a lot of accolades.
I think you've captured it all. It really is, there's no woman takes a straight path to get where she wants to be. And I think there's so many different facets of who we are. And so when you read off a little bit about me, it just, highlights that we don't have to just go from A to Z in a straight line. We can do so many other things that really encompass who we really are and what we're passionate about.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about your story so our audience can get to know you. Who is Lee behind this amazing businesswoman that you are?
Yeah, sure. So, for those of you, listening right now or watching later, I am a former U.S. Marine. I always like to start off with that because there is something about being a Marine that resonates with people. Because as a woman Marine, as a female going into the military, you have to have a certain level of internal strength that you may not have even realized to get through the training and the mental challenges and working through. There's a process where they tend to, remove who you were and build you and create someone new. And so that experience for me was amazing, and I still harken back to the lessons that I learned in the military about internal strength and making sure that you get up every time you fall down and never allowing yourself to lose sight of the end goal. So, I have used those principles throughout my entire life, throughout my career, throughout my my coaching business and getting to the C-suite. It all really basically, comes to being in the military and kind of learning those lessons. But, when I got out of the military, I went into corporate America. I went into human resource management. So that is my functional career. I am a C suite HR executive. I've done career coaching and executive coaching basically my entire career. And as a woman leader, I felt it was important for me to give back to other women who were either just, coming into their leadership role, aspiring leaders, or even current leaders who may need a little additional help, coaching, mentoring, guidance from someone who's been there. And the other aspect of myself, and really what kind of closes the loop, is I'm a domestic abuse survivor. I went through an experience in my early 20s that changed who I was and how I saw the world. And it was very traumatizing and it was very difficult. And it was a challenge for me to move forward. But that's where the principle of when you fall down, you have to get up. You have to stand up for yourself and you have to stand up for what you want for your life and your future. And so that kind of goes back to, our life is not a straight line. It's not a narrow straight line. Sometimes you're going to go off course. Sometimes you're going to take two steps back before you can move forward. But the focus, that I really think is important for women is to never forget who you are and what you're trying to accomplish. And that's really what, my talk at the Women Thrive Summit was about, what, a little bit about what we're going to talk about today and what my coaching is about.
Amazing. So I just want to pick up on the topic you've chosen for the Women Thrive Summit that for me just really stood out. And I was like, yes, Lee. I was like, yes. So Lee was a speaker at the Women Thrive Summit in March, the last Women Thrive Summit. And her talk title was Their Acceptance is Not Required. Time to be bold, audacious and fearless. My apologies. Goodness me, what a topic. How did you come
Mhm.
up with it, and why is it even important for us women to actually be fearless, audacious, and bold in what we want to do?
It's so important. And that topic for me was a little bit about how I had to adjust my own mindset. And I think that's for women where we sometimes don't give ourselves enough credit. We minimize ourselves and our success and what we have accomplished. And we expect others to give us approval that we're doing the right thing. We expect others to give us the okay to go after success or start our business or go after that corner office. We look to others for approval when we don't need it. We don't need it. It's really inside of us already on how we want to step out into this world. And so it's really a mindset shift of getting away from apologizing for who you are, getting away from minimizing your success, getting away from asking for someone else's acceptance and approval to simply be who you are. And I experienced that. I went through that myself, where I expected other people to validate me. And I had to learn over the years that their validation, their acceptance, their approval was not required in order for me to succeed on my own terms or to get that corner office. I could do that based
Yeah.
on my own momentum, my own approval. I was the only person who
Yeah.
needed
So
to approve.
what helped you to break through that mindset? Because I know a lot of people struggle. Like, we are looking for the approval, we are looking for the permission, and a lot of the times we are the worst enemies of ourselves because
Mhm.
we're the ones don't give ourselves the opportunity to move forward. So, what has helped you to break through that mindset and just realize that, like, hey, I can be much more bold and achieve what it is that I set my mind to?
Mhm. What I did is there was an aha moment for me where I actually did not take an assignment because I listened to other people. It was an opportunity for me to go to a company into a role that I was excited about, and I was talked out of it because it was, oh, well, you're not ready. This is not for you. Maybe you need a little this, years ago, and maybe this is not the right opportunity for you. And so I turned it down. And then I look back on that situation and I realized they didn't have my best interests at heart. They weren't looking out for me. And when that realization came, I had to just take a step back and I had to think about, why did I need their approval? Why did I feel that they needed to make it okay for me to get that assignment? And that was my catalyst moment, where I had to really start to think about what was inside of me that felt that I needed to ask for their approval. And once I did that, once I sat down with my own thoughts, that's when I realized I didn't need their approval. I could. There was no reason for me to ask for their approval, their acceptance, their okay,
Mm,
because I lost out on a great opportunity because someone else maybe didn't have my best interests at heart. And that was an aha moment for me.
yeah. And I always say, be your own biggest cheerleader, be
Hmm.
your own biggest supporter,
Hmm.
because again, people don't understand your mission, they don't understand your why, they don't know your struggles, they don't know your story or your reason, your purpose of like why you're here. So you've got to be your own biggest cheerleader before you find anybody else that is going to cheerlead you. So,
Yeah.
for those of you watching right now, watching this on replay, I want you to drop in the comments below if this resonates with you. And if you have any questions for our speaker, Lee Mariano, today, would love to welcome some of your questions, comments, engagement in the chat. I see quite a few watching, but perhaps have not taken the leap, the audacity of putting a comment in the chat. So I encourage you to do that. So our live, we talked a little bit behind the scenes of the power of women coming together and to celebrate. Uh, let's talk a little bit more about that. What happens when we as women actually come
Mhm.
together in this empowering space?
So I one thing I want to say about the summit, um, my own experience as I was listening to the speakers, there were moments where I would like, wow, like how powerful is that? I never thought about it that way. Listening to some of the other speakers, their stories and history and what they were speaking about resonated with me. And we as women don't always get the opportunity to just sit and listen and absorb and take in the information. And so when we come together in a space where we can be honest and authentic and share our stories, we realize that we're not alone. We're not the only one who's gone through challenge. We're not the only one who has been in a relationship where there was domestic violence. We're not alone in the challenges and struggles that we have gone through, nor are we alone in how we want to succeed or the career path that we have. And so when women come together, there is power in sharing our stories. There is power in how we are connecting with other women. Because unless you hear me speak, of course we're here today, but on the during the summit, unless you're in a space where you can hear me speak and share my story, you may only see one version of me. You may only see one side of me. But to hear that, yes, I was a domestic abuse survivor, to hear that I'm a former US Marine, to hear that I'm a C suite executive, all of these things that I've experienced in life, it connects us so much stronger than just a one dimensional picture of who I am. And so when women come together, there is power in that and there's transformation in that because now we're seeing that if someone else went through it, they succeeded, they overcame, then so can we. If someone else succeeded, got to that corner office or started their own business, so can we. And it makes us feel as if we have a tribe around us, a circle around us that can help uplift us. And so I think it's just so powerful when we can come together that way.
Yeah. Oh, yes, 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 yes. It's like we are multi-dimensional creatures, and it's so I find that especially this online media, social media world can be really one-dimensional, and people place you in the box quite quickly, right? They say you should stick in your niche,
Yeah.
be just that
Yeah.
person. But hold on a minute, like how many of you watching this right now feel like I'm so much more? I
Mhm.
am so much more, and even so much more than your past experiences, because you may have passions, you may have interests, you may have desires, you may have something unique about you. For me, in this space, when we create this space like a Women Thrive Summit, and women come through our doors, be it virtual doors, because we want to serve global audience, I always say, embrace who you are, embrace that unique individual that you are, and you're not here to compete with anybody else, because we're not here to compete about who has had the worst experience in life and we are here surviving. No, you're unique. It's unfortunate that we have to go through some of the experiences as women, like a domestic violence or an abuse, or have to be knocked down to our knees. But this space is supportive space for you to be who you are, and for all of us to celebrate each other. And I love your perspective. I love your leadership and the nurturing that you come with, that you brought to our space as well, Lee.
No, thank you so much. And for me, it was a powerful experience because it was 5 days of different topics, of course, different themes, but the women each came with a different, unique perspective. So my approach and my talk about being bold and audacious and fearless was one end of the spectrum, and you had other speakers talking about maybe a similar topic, but their approach was different, and something is going to resonate with individuals based on their life and based on who they are and their personality and what feels comfortable for them. But that's the beauty of what you did, of what we did as a group. That's the beauty of that process, is we all get something out of it. We all can, get some learning or education or a new perspective, or just look at life a very different way. We were talking about self-care, leadership, business, confidence, all of these topics that we as women sometimes, shy away from because we say, well, no, I'm fine. I'm fine exactly the way I am. But what we don't realize until we actually hear the words, we hear the discussion, is that maybe we're not okay. And maybe we needed to hear that message that day at that moment. Or maybe we needed to gain a different perspective. And so that's the power of what the summit was about. And I think we as women have to be okay with leaning in to the transformation, leaning into who we want to be so that we can be bold and audacious and fearless in everything that we do, and to recognize that it's okay if we do that.
We don't have to be afraid. I think
Mhm.
what holds us back is that
Mhm.
fear of judgment, fear of
Mhm.
being too much. Let's talk about fear of being too much.
Oh, that's a huge one. That is the huge one, the fear of judgment, the fear of being too much. I think that's where, for me, I've had those experiences where I've been told, calm down, relax. You don't have to do too much. You don't have to be, so verbose. You don't have to be this, you don't have to be out in front. And what that does is that it jars us, I think, sometimes, and it makes us curl into ourselves because, oh my gosh, I'm being too much. I'm not being, what's expected of me. I'm not being ladylike. I'm not being what society expects of me. And so we stop and we curl inside ourselves and we stop putting ourselves out there. We stop boldly walking into a room and letting everyone know that we have arrived. We
Mhm.
stop living our lives fearlessly because we don't want to be ashamed of who we are. We don't want people to question who we are and if we are um, acceptable or not. And so that's huge. It's the fear of that judgment. We don't want people to laugh at us. We don't want people to judge us. And so there is a fear that if we put ourselves out there too much, that's it's going to be something that they can judge us on. And so I also think something that women fear is the fear of, and I say this in a way, it's like the fear of failing, but in a different way. Like in this, when it comes to business or your career, there's this fear that if we put ourselves out there and we go after something bigger, better, more amazing, that if we fail, then everyone's going to point their finger and say, see, we told you, you never should have done that. See, you weren't ready. See, you couldn't be that business owner. And so there is that fear of failure that also comes into play sometimes, where we hold ourselves back from doing exactly what we want to do, because what if it doesn't work out? And people then point the finger and say, see, we told you, you couldn't do it. And so there is a lot of that we feel inside. And, it takes time. It takes time to overcome that and figure out how we're going to step into the next phase of our life, or how we're going to take those bold steps and not care what other people think.
Oh my God. Be bold, step into it. And I find that women, particularly, we get the worst end of the stick actually with this, right? It makes me feel emotional about saying it, because I think women are judged much more. And also, when we do have those failures, they say,
Mhm.
see, I told you so. You shouldn't have gone there. You shouldn't have done it. I mean, when do you ever hear men get that feedback? When do you ever get a man getting to say, being told, oh, you see, you shouldn't have done it, or you weren't ready, or you weren't strong enough?
Mhm.
Like, and I think, well, personally, from experience and being going through this summit and observing, although we're meeting hundreds of women on this journey, what blows me away that we women are so strong.
Mhm.
I really mean it when I say we are so strong, because I've seen so many women overcome not only domestic violence and abuse, struggles at home. We bear children, we carry our businesses, we become the carers at home.
Mhm.
I mean, you're an ex-Marine. you know, we get to go into spaces like a man's world and carry all of that and
Mhm.
overcome. And when we are faced with adversity, I think women are uniquely strong to actually deal with adversity and continue to thrive despite all of these things that life throws at us. That's
Mhm.
my thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I agree. And one thing, I want to be mindful of time, but one thing I want to point out to women, and this is it's a career guidance, but it also goes into every aspect of our life. One thing I've found over the years as an HR executive is that women will often self select out. They will remove themselves from a selection because they're not 100% ready. They're not a 100% fit. If they don't have all they need, skills, education, knowledge, they'll say, I'm not ready yet. I'm going to wait. I'm not going to go after this position. I'm not going to go after this promotion because I'm not 100% fit. I'm not going to be selected anyway, so I'm not even going to try. On the other hand, male counterparts will say, well, maybe I'm a 50% fit. I don't know everything I need to know, but I'm smart enough to learn. And they will put themselves out there. They will go after that promotion, that new position. They will start that business, and they will focus on learning what they don't know in order for them to succeed. And so, my message to any women who are listening right now, part of being bold and audacious and fearless is going after the things that you are afraid of, is stepping into a place where you are uncertain, stepping in through that door that maybe sort of kind of shut closed to you and you have to push it open. If you don't know something, don't self select out. Know that you are smart enough to learn what you don't know. Know that you are smart enough to gain the knowledge in order to be in that space, because you deserve to be in that space. You are intelligent, you have the skills, you have the knowledge. So don't automatically remove yourself from a situation where you're not 100% perfect. You don't have to be. You just have to be smart enough to learn what you don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know what, as you say, uh, especially when they say about launching business, if it's all perfect, you launch too late. And the same with a career. If you have already mastered all the skills, you're probably too advanced for that role anyway.
That's
Right?
right.
If you got nothing else to learn, nothing else to master on that role, you're you're too advanced. You need to be moving up the ladder.
That's exactly right.
Don't wait to be ready. Just jump for it because how many women, and as we spoke speaking about a summit, how many women told me that, oh, I didn't want to apply for the summit because I wasn't ready. I was so scared.
Yeah.
I kept questioning myself. And
Mhm.
boom, they landed that speaking opportunity and they're like, oh my God, I actually got it. I was like, why are you overthinking it?
That's right.
Because if you have the passion, you have a story, you're willing to be here and deliver your best, then you should be on this stage because it's not about being the best, it's about being the most committed and driven to do something. And if you're passionate about something, I see that magic in you. I see that light in you. And I want to have you on that stage because I don't really care whether you're an experienced speaker or not. I want to spotlight women voices. And it doesn't matter whether you're a first time speaker or not,
Right.
because that's what it's about. So here
Right.
you are, ladies, from Lee. Their acceptance is not required, and it's time to be bold, audacious, audacious. I'm still mastering that word, pardon me. And fearless. Hey, it's I accept it. I've got still learning to do.
Don't we all?
That is so good. You know what? We should be forever learning.
That's
I want to
right.
be forever learning. I want to quickly read for those of you who are still here. Please let us know if you have any questions, comments. We'll ask Lee before we jump off. But Cece's comment really warmed my heart today, and she said, "Absolutely, I needed the summit support and fellow sisterhood more than I even knew. I'm still processing all, so it was so loving. Thank you,
Mhm. That's awesome. That's
thank
awesome.
you."
Yeah.
What was your experience, just before we go, what was your experience, Leah, as in being in the as a speaker? So coming from perhaps the speaker's aspect of the summit.
It was great. The support was phenomenal. From the time I was accepted into the summit as a speaker, the support from you and your team was amazing. Just helping us prepare ourselves mentally for how we would approach our topic, our speaking topic, making sure that we could connect with other speakers and really have that sisterhood, as Cece said, of having that sisterhood of the speakers where we supported each other, we encouraged each other because we all had a goal. We all knew that we were working toward a goal of bringing our voices to the summit in the best way that we could. And again, you were very responsive, and your team was responsive, and the support was phenomenal, and it was a very smooth and easy process. It was a very easy process. There's always the nervousness of speaking on stage, and you want it to go well, and you don't want to mess up, and of course, um, but just the process of getting prepared and getting ready and having those times where we could talk about our fears and our concerns and our successes when it came to preparing for the summit. It was really good. It was very good. I was not disappointed in any way. It was actually, I've spoken at a lot of events, and this was one of the smoothest operations that I can say that I've gone through. So just so you
Thank you. My highlights, there was few highlights. I mean, one of the highlights was seeing women connect and really make those relationships work. That was one of the highlights. The second highlight was seeing women grow through the process and
know.
really step into their empowerment, unleash themselves and their voice. And there were a few people that really, perhaps who weren't as experienced speakers,
Mhm,
have
mhm.
grown to just become these flowers that just blossomed after at the
Yeah.
end. And then the final, I guess, moment that was a huge highlight is seeing these women on stage and then the
Mhm.
audience, um, the impact with the audience and how
Mhm.
they received it and what will go beyond it. So for me, it was those three things that were just the biggest highlights from this event.
I agree. I agree. It's very powerful.
Lee, how do people get in touch with you? I know they will be able to watch the replay of the summit if they wanted to, if they head to womentthrivesummit.com. But how can people get in touch with you if they wanted to follow up?
Absolutely. So I am on Facebook under Lee Mariano or Alexa Dom Coach. I also have a website, www.coachleemariano, where you can go and you can get access to my private community where we come together as women to talk about leveling up our life and career and how we can gain our confidence and grow our leadership. So I'd love to have any of you who are watching right now, connect with me. I think it is a great, we have a great community. And thank you as well, Ramonda, for posting the link to the 8 factors of unshakable confidence. That is a free PDF that is available to anyone who would just want some immediate tips and tools for how they can grow their confidence and start making those steps today. Yes.
Fantastic. So you got all the information you need. This is Lee's website. If you wanted to follow up, you can also find her across different social media channels, as well as in the comments I have left the free gift that you can download today, Unshakable Confidence, the 8 factors to it. Lee, thank you for your time and your contribution to our platform. Eternally grateful, and I hope that we get to continue to collaborate, do work, and inspire so many other women around the world.
All right. Thank you so much, Ramonda. It was amazing. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Thank you. Thanks, ladies. And if you have enjoyed this, please do make sure that you are going to share this with other people that's in your community. You never know who needs this message right now. We spoke about so many things on women empowerment, women coming together, about stepping into your power and becoming a little more confident in who you are. Own that power. Go about your day with that spring in your step, being empowered. And if you do want to watch the replay of Lee's talk, head over to womenthrivesummit.com, register your spot there. And if you have any comments or questions, please leave it in the comments, and I'm sure Lee will be able to answer any of them. So he said, thank you, ladies. We appreciate you. And thank you all for watching today, and look forward to seeing you on another live. Take care for now. Bye-bye.